Hey everyone, welcome back, and let's write some more neat code today. So today let's solve the problem, my calendar 1. The idea is pretty simple. We're given a class to implement, and the reason we're given a class is because we're going to manage like the state of something that's going on. We only have one function to actually implement. It is called the book function, and it's going to give us two integers, a start integer and an end integer, and we can guarantee that the start is always going to be less than the end. So we can think of this kind of as an interval problem. Suppose the first time it's called, we're given a range of 10 to 20. Those are the two integers that we're given. We're going to be given more ranges. These are pretty much events in our calendar. And as long as the events that we're given don't overlap, we should be good. We can just kind of add that to our list of events, and then we can return true. If they do overlap, which would only be the case if one of the points is actually within the other point. So like, let's say we had something like 15 to 25, which actually is the second event here that we're given. For this event, there is some overlapping. Like you could say that this is in between this one, or you could say this is in between that one. So for this one, we would not add it to our list because it overlaps with an existing one, and we would return false. Now, the third event that's given to us is this one, 20 to 30. By my definition, the one that I kind of gave, this one is definitely not between this one, and this one is not between this one. They are equal, and that's actually perfectly fine. So the way that they define it in this problem is by saying that the ending point is always open-ended. So I drew this one with a closed circle, but I want it to be an open circle. So that's actually available. And then so this one, the starting is closed, but the ending is going to be open. So kind of like this. So the simplest way to solve this problem is to just throw all of these events into a list or an array. Adding the event, if we just add it to the end, is technically going to be constant time, but to determine if two events overlap, we are going to have to scan through that entire input. So whatever the size of it is, let's say, it's m, for that's how many events have already happened, the time complexity would be n times m. Now, it's better to kind of put this in just in terms of n. Like, let's say our function is called 10 times. The time complexity of that is going to be proportional to the size of the list, which could be up to 10. So if we replace this with a variable, let's say n, then we can say that the overall time complexity is n squared. So this is one valid solution. So I'll code this up now before I show you a more optimal one. So I'm going to have a list in my constructor. I'm going to call it events. So in Python, we can do that like this. This is a member variable. And then within our book function, we're going to first scan through the list of events. We could do it like this for event in events, but in Python, you can unpack the events because we're going to store them like this. It's going to be a starting and an ending event. We're going to store it as a tuple, or you could also store it as like a nested list, but we're going to unpack those like this, SE. And then we want to know if they're overlapping, because if there's some overlapping, we're going to return false. If they're not overlapping, then we're going to go through the entire list. And if none of them overlapped with the current event, then here we're going to return true, but not before we add that event to our list of events. So like this, start, end. Now, how do we determine if they overlap? One way is to determine if they don't overlap. We know that they don't overlap. Let me just kind of draw a couple like events. This is like the opening, something like this. I know this isn't like a great drawing, but these two don't overlap because the starting of one of them is greater than the ending of the other. I guess they could also be equal. So let's account for that. Let's say the start of the current event is greater than or equal, I'll do it like this, is greater than or equal to the ending of the other event. That's one case where they don't overlap. Like we can kind of guarantee that. Now, suppose that like the current event this time is actually this one. Well, then we could say the ending of that event is actually less than or equal to the start of the other event. So if either of these two are true, then we guarantee that they don't overlap. But this is the case where they do overlap, so we can just take the negation of this whole thing, just put a not in front of it like this. And so if we run this now, that's pretty much the whole code. Whoops, for events here, I forgot to reference it with the self keyword. And when appending here, I forgot to use the actual append method. Sorry about that. But you can see that this solution does work. It's relatively efficient. If you wanted to simplify this a little bit, if you kind of know how like Boolean math works, like we're saying that either of these is not true, like both of them are not true, then like evaluate this portion of the code. So we could kind of take that and distribute it to both of them and then put an and here. So if both of these are not true, we can make them the opposite just by changing the sign. So this is less than or equal. We can change that to a greater than. And then this is less than or equal. We can change that to a greater than. And then this will technically work as well. Just to prove it to you, I'll run it. Yep, it's the same solution pretty much. But now I'm going to show you a different solution. Now you might already be thinking, instead of just having these ranges, like these events in random order in our list, why don't we maintain a sorted list? Then we could look up the list to check for 2 overlapping intervals in log n time. But the problem is maintaining the sorted order. We'd have to insert potentially in the middle of that list, and that is going to be a linear time operation. So doing that with an array isn't going to work, but we can use a data structure that has pointers. You might be thinking like a linked list, but actually there's a much better and more intuitive data structure, pretty much the binary search tree. It's a very natural data structure to use for this, and the way we're actually going to use it, each node is going to have a range, so it's going to be kind of similar to doing a segment tree. Not exactly, and we're only going to be doing the insertion portion of that, not doing any lookups or deletions or anything super complicated. So it actually won't be a super difficult solution to implement. This is the idea. We start with an empty binary search tree. If it's empty, then the first event that we try to add is always going to work. So we add a node, it has a range, 10, 20. Now you can probably guess what I'm about to do. If this is the root node, we're going to say that everything in the right subtree is going to be strictly greater than 20. Well, I guess it could be greater than or equal. So if we had like another event that's like 20 to 30, that's fine because they're equal, but it can't be less. Similar on the left side, we are going to allow events that look like this, let's say 5 to 10, because the ending of this event can be equal to the beginning of the next event, but they can't be greater. Like no value in this entire subtree can be greater than 10. And so that's how we can guard against having overlapping events. The only problem is that if we implement this binary search tree ourselves, creating like the self-balancing portion is going to be tedious. So like we can skip that, but that doesn't guarantee that the insertions are going to be log n, because in an unbalanced binary tree, we know that that can actually be big O of n because it's determined by the height of the tree, not the number of nodes. But anyways, I think this is still an improvement over the previous one. So this is what we're going to do. We have this. The next one we try to do is going to be 15 to 25. How would we do the comparisons? Well, the comparisons are going to be exactly the same as we did before. First, we're going to check, is the beginning of this new range greater than or equal to this one? If it is, then we're going to follow the right pointer, and then maybe we'll arrive at a new node, and we'll kind of keep doing that recursively. Well, not recursively, but just by following the pointers. Now, if that's not the case, let's try the other direction. Perhaps this value is less than or equal to the beginning of the other value. Well, it looks like that's not the case either. This is not less than that. So that doesn't work either. So that's how you know that these two intervals are overlapping. And then at that point, we can just immediately return false. Otherwise, we would follow the pointer and we'd either see over here or over here that we've gotten to a null pointer, and that's when we can create a new node with the given range and then do the insertion. And if this was non-null, we would just have followed the pointer and then kept going until we reached a null pointer. This isn't like super complicated. It's just implementing the insertion of a binary tree with just a little bit of range checking. But let's go ahead and code this one up. So up above, I'm going to declare my tree data structure. That's kind of what the solution is going to be all about. We're going to have our constructor, and we are going to have our insert method as well. So insert is going to be given a start and an ending range. And even the constructor is actually going to be given that as well, because I'm not going to have a separate class for the tree node. I could do that if I wanted to, but just to kind of keep this more concise, I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to pass in the start and ending here. Within the tree itself, I'm going to maintain two things: the left child, which initially is going to be null, the right child, which is initially also going to be null, and the starting and ending of the current node. So the starting is going to be the given value, and same thing with ending. So now that we kind of know the structure of this, assume that the insert method is going to work, and I'm going to fill in the rest of this code down here, and then we're actually going to implement the insertion. So in our constructor, just to make sure that these interfaces are going to work, we should just try to implement the solution. So here I'm going to maintain the root of the calendar, the root node. Initially, it's going to be null. And then when I'm given an event to book, I'm going to first check if not root. Well, let's use the self keyword. If this is non-null, let's go ahead and create a tree node with the given start and end values. And then let's set that to the root node. The first event that we book is always going to work, right? We always expect that to work. So here we'll return true. Now, if it's non-empty, well, then let's do self.root.insert into the existing tree this range. And let's say that this insert is either going to return true or false. We can just return the result of that method call. So now that we have that, the only thing left to do is fill in the insert. And this can be done iteratively. It's just like inserting into a regular binary tree. So I'm going to have a pointer. Initially, I'm actually going to set it to just self. So it's pretty much like the instance of this object. And then I'm going to do just while true. Eventually, we're going to either reach like a conflict, which will return false from here, or we will do the insertion and then we'll return true. So we don't really need like a condition that's going to terminate. But now let's do the comparisons. If the start is greater than or equal to the current node's ending, so current dot end, then let's follow the right pointer. We can say current is going to be current dot right. Else, if the opposite is true, if the ending of the current range is less than or equal to the start of the other one, let's follow the other pointer. Current is going to be equal to current.left. Else, there's a conflict, in which case we return false. So now, where exactly are we doing the insertions? Well, before we shift the pointer here, what if the right child is actually null? Well, before we get there, let's do the insertion. So let's check if not current.right. Let's then say, okay, we reached the bottom of the tree. We reached the point where we can insert the new node. So we'll say current.right can now be set to a new tree node with the given start and end. And here we can then just return true. And then do the opposite over here. If not current.left, let's then do the insertion. Current.left is equal to this. And after that, we can go ahead and return. So this is like the bulk of the solution, but it's nothing super complicated, as you can see. So I'm going to go ahead and run it. And you can see this one works and is definitely more efficient, even though the worst case is technically O of n, assuming that the ranges are given like in a random order, the tree should be balanced and it should be log n. If you found this helpful, check out leetcode.io. Thanks for watching and I'll see you soon.